The Indian Child Bride and the Old Arab Husband. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This narration continues the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful Indian girl. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. This story was narrated in 6 books. Book 2. The Arab Sugar Daddy Turns into the Granddaddy the Devil. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a newspaper, magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictitious and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is merely coincidental. Chapter 19. Over 7 years later, when the Jeddah Sharia court ruled in his favor, the old Saudi man took his small Indian child bride, emigrated to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and settled there. Ifat Khan was 3 months pregnant when she had been taken to another Muslim country. As he did in Asmara, the wealthy Arab business tycoon bought a house in Tehran and kept his child bride imprisoned within its 4 walls. He hired 3 Iranian maidservants and 1 security guard. That security guard is an Afghani man, licensed to carry a rifle. He is a retired Taliban terrorist in his late 60s, but still a very tough and dangerous man. He has no qualms about shooting anyone who may break in and try to free the imprisoned child bride. He sleeps a few hours during the day and remains awake throughout the night. The 3 Iranian women serve Ifat Khan around the clock. They have a huge room, which they use as a dormitory to sleep in, and if any of them wants to visit her family, she gets only 1 day off each fortnight. The Indian underage wife is not allowed to do any work. Her only duty is to use the bathroom and take a bath. She is not permitted to step out of the house's boundary under any circumstances. If she falls sick, one of the maidservants will call a nurse to treat her. If her illness is serious, an Iranian female doctor will be called in to diagnose her and treat her for her specific illness. Whatever may happen to her, she is not allowed to step foot outside of her highly guarded castle. She is like Beauty and the Beast. She has been imprisoned by the ugly monster in his fortified castle. When Ifat delivered her first baby, she was 12 years old. The old man called in an Iranian midwife for the delivery. The midwife found it difficult to guide the underage wife through normal delivery. She was afraid that the small girl might die. She also expected that the underage wife, due to her small body, might need a cesarean and strongly advised the old man to send his wife to the hospital. He refused, saying that he would never allow any man to see the nakedness of his wife. Therefore, the underage wife Ifat had almost died before the midwife managed to ease the baby out of her womb. Unfortunately, the infant baby girl died shortly after it was born. After that, the old man made his underage Indian wife use birth control pills to prevent his child bride from getting pregnant again. He is afraid that if she conceived again, she might die for sure. His main concern is to enjoy her beauty and sexy body that has warmed his heart so deeply and renewed his old age. Sheikh Ahmed has, by this time, totally neglected his other 3 Saudi wives and spent most of his time in Tehran with his lovely underage Indian child wife. Each one of his 3 Arab wives is more ugly than the other. He began to do most of his business in Iran. He traveled once every 2 or 3 months to Saudi Arabia and spent a few weeks over there. Sometimes, he traveled to other Asian and Arab countries and did his business over there too. His business flourished in Iran, and he became quite wealthy. He spent a lot of money on his favorite child bride. He is treating his underage Indian wife Ifat the same way his Prophet Muhammad used to treat his child bride Aisha. He bought her tens of dresses and adorned her with exquisite and expensive jewels that he bought on his many travels abroad. He went out of his usual way and built a swimming pool for her inside his huge mansion, and then he hired a young Iranian woman to teach Ifat to swim. Once his child wife had learned how to swim, the old man began to sit by the pool on an armchair and watch her swimming in her sexy bikini. He also purchased very costly jewelry, video games, and dolls for her. The old Arab man modified his former practice with her and began to allow her to watch Indian movies. When they were in Asmara and when she was between the ages of 9 and 11, he used to force her to watch pornographic movies with him and then force her to do to him what she saw in those dirty porn movies. He continued this practice with her in Tehran, but began to allow her to watch her Indian movies too. He bought a home theater system for her. Whatever she asked for, he bought for her. Whatever kind of food she wanted to eat, he provided. The only thing he refused to allow her to do was to go out of the house. Although he treats her like a queen, the Indian girl does not love the evil old geezer. She always felt great relief whenever he went away for a few weeks. She hates sex with him. Sex for her always means pain and torture. Therefore, the pedophile has made her hate sex with any man. She hates the nights because they always remind her of her first year with him in Asmara when he first started to rape her. For 8 years onwards, the old man continually and repeatedly raped Ifit. She, bound by her circumstances, simply resigned herself to the fact that she was going to be under his control forever. He made her believe that her mother had died. He repeatedly and time and again told her that her mother was arrested and sentenced to death by the Sharia court in Jeddah City because she committed heinous crimes. Ifit never tried to run away from the old man. There was nowhere to go. She had no money and also no idea how to buy an air ticket to fly back to India, where she knows that she has small brothers and an old grandmother in Bombay. In any case, her Indian passport is locked inside a secured safe, and the keys are always with the old man. So, Ifit accepted her destiny, which she believed had been destined by Allah in her life, and whatever little entertainment she is getting in the mansion of the terror of old man is enough for her. She loves to watch Indian movies because she understands Hindi. She speaks 3 languages, Urdu, Hindi, and Persian. She had learned Persian from her maidservants who were living with her in the house. Though being bilingual, she can neither read nor write any of these languages. The old man did not provide her with tutors to teach her reading and writing. Education for females is not in his vocabulary or on his future agenda. He decided to keep her illiterate like his other dumb Arab wives. He is scared that education may make her well-informed of the outside world, and therefore she may run away from him. The imprisoned Indian wife Ifit Khan spent 7 years in Tehran imprisoned in the palace-like house of the old Saudi man. Her daily life varies little except when he travels to another country. Whenever he goes on his business trips or visits his other wives in Saudi Arabia, she will be completely free from his unpleasant presence. Whenever he is back home, he will ask her to massage his body. For the old geezer, she is a massage girl during the day and his female sex slave in bed at night. Sex with him is the worst thing for her. By this time, the crazy Qais has forgotten about his lovely Indian beloved Layla. If Rayhana miraculously escaped from her looming stoning sentence or resurrected from her grave in Saudi Arabia and came to his palace in Tehran, he would order his Afghani guard to shoot her and kill her. He concluded the so-called dirty professional prostitute had been stoned to death and his mad love for her had been buried with her in her grave forever. He thanked Allah that he had rewarded him by giving him her little daughter Ifit as an everlasting underage child bride. He wishes that his child wife would remain his child bride forever. He believes that he loves her now more than he loved her bad mother, who cheated on him and married 3 men at the same time. At least the little Ifit was a virgin when he married her and did not have an open pussy like her dirty mother. That is how the notorious womanizer and the dirty pedophile Arab man had interpreted the sad events that happened to those 2 women, the mother who is unjustly imprisoned and condemned to be killed through stoning and her kidnapped, raped, and detained daughter. During those 7 years in Iran, the old man had never spent more than 4 weeks far away from his underage Indian wife. However, his last overseas trip was prolonged beyond his usual schedule until the Iranian maidservants began to complain to her about their monthly payments. The old man went on a business trip to Pakistan and has not come back for many weeks. Ifit has no money, nor does she know where the old man is hiding his money. Whenever the old man returned from his abroad trips, it was he who used to pay the maidservants and the security guard their wages. So, she told the Iranian women that she had no money to pay their dues. The maidservants asked her to contact his wives in Saudi Arabia to find out whether he was still alive or if he was dead. If he is still alive, ask them what is delaying his return. If it told them that she had no phone number for any of the 3 wives of her Saudi husband. After 3 months had passed, the Iranian maidservants began to quarrel with Ifit. They have concluded that the old man is dead and buried by the Pakistanis. They asked Ifit to sell some of her gold and use the money to pay them for the 3 months that were due. They said that they want to go and seek other employment. Ifit feared that the angered Iranian women might gang against her and kill her, steal all her expensive jewelry, and run away. To avoid that situation, she agreed to sell some of her gold and pay their 3-month dues. The maidservants tried to convince the security guard to allow Ifit to go to the main market to sell some of her gold. The security guard refused to listen to them. He said that he would shoot any one of the 3 women if they tried to help the small wife Ifit go out of the house or run away. He is the only one, at this point, who remained loyal to his Arab master. After giving it some thought, Ifit settled the problem with the maidservants by giving each one of them some of her expensive clothes and a small piece of her costly ornaments. The 3 Iranian women took what the Indian wife gave them, quit their jobs, and disappeared from her mansion forever. Chapter 20. The imprisoned underage wife is back in her motherland. After her Iranian maidservants have deserted her, Ifit is forced to do everything by herself. She is not used to any kind of manual labor. Out of necessity, she began washing her clothes and cooking her meals. She struggled with her chores and worried about her dwindling store of food. She has no money and knows that the stalwart security guard is taking his job seriously. He will never allow her to go out of the house, even if she has to starve to death or die of serious illness. She is also under the impression that the old man has died. She tried many times to convince the security guard to allow her to go to the main market to sell some of her gold and buy groceries and other things, but he always refused. Finally, after 4 months passed, a letter arrived in the mailbox which had been sent to her. It is written in Arabic. When that mysterious letter arrived, she succeeded in convincing the security guard to allow her to find someone to read it for her and translate what was written in it. The security man told her that he was going to the main market to find an Arabic translator and bring him to her. He locked her up in her bedroom with a big padlock, then he kept the key in his pocket, went to the market and brought a translator. He is an Iranian translator who can speak, read, and write in Arabic. Through the translator, the 4th Indian wife has come to know that the letter had been written and sent to her by the old monster himself. He stated that he is held up against his wishes in a jail in India. He claimed that he is falsely accused of kidnapping and raping an underage young Indian girl and being thrown inside a filthy prison in Bombay City. In his letter, the old Saudi man ordered his 4th wife Ifit Khan to come to India and appoint a good lawyer for him. He wanted her to sell some of her jewelry, purchase an air ticket, and come to Bombay as soon as possible. But then he strictly mentioned that she should not come alone. His good Afghani security guard, who has faithfully served him for 7 years, should come along with her, and she is to buy his air ticket too. The Arabic translator read the letter in front of the Afghani security guard, and after hearing the contents of the letter, the guard finally allowed the 7 years imprisoned wife to come out of her dungeon of gold. He accompanied her to the main market, concealing his loaded rifle in his robe. He forewarned her before he allowed her to step out of the house that if she tried to run away at any time, he would not hesitate to shoot her in the head and kill her in front of the people. In his letter, the old man also informed his confined Indian underage wife how and where she could find the key to the safe holding her Indian passport. The Afghani security guard has a valid Iranian passport. After selling some jewelry and obtaining enough money, the security guard took Ifit to the Indian consulate and applied for his visiting visa to Bombay. His visa has been issued after a week. After that, he took her with him to the Iranian airline office in downtown Tehran and made her purchase their air tickets, booking their flight to Bombay. Although by now she is a little over 18 years of age, still, Ifit is like a female child of 7 years of age who needs someone to tell her what to do and how to do it. It seemed she had grown up physically, but mentally she remained trapped in the mind of a female child of 7. She has no experience of the outside world at all. For 10 years, she has been imprisoned like a small, beautiful, colorful bird inside a gilded cage and denied access to any form of social interaction with the outside world either in Eritrea or Iran. The Afghani terrorist led her from place to place and made her do what he wanted her to do. He scared her with the gun, which he always kept hidden inside his clothes. It took a month before Ifit and the Afghani man flew from Tehran to Bombay. People who saw the Afghani with Ifit naturally assumed him to be her grandfather. Afghani women look like Indian women, and Indians believe that Afghanistan was part of the subcontinent of India before the Arabs invaded it and brought their accursed Islamic religion and forced it on the Hindus. There is strong evidence which proved that the Hindu sacred book, which is called Rig Veda, was created in Afghanistan. Rig Veda is one of the 4 sacred religious books of Hinduism known as the Holy Vedas. The Taliban terrorist knew that he could not pass his gun through the checkpoint at the Tehran International Airport, so he left it behind. However, he managed to convince the Indian wife Ifit Khan that he had somehow managed to smuggle it inside with him. The scared girl Ifit followed him inside the airport with the docility of a female prisoner following her guard. She would not even contemplate using the toilet without his express permission. When she told him she wanted to go to the lavatory, he allowed her to go, but he went with her, waiting outside the lavatory. Some of the flying crew and passengers noticed the behavior of the Afghani man and the beautiful teenage girl who was traveling with him, but they thought that as a fanatic Muslim man, the old man was simply protecting his granddaughter from being teased or harassed. Who would have guessed the truth? So, they let them be without raising any flag of suspicion. None of them knew that the dangerous Afghani terrorist and his young Indian female captive, the product of 10 years of captivity, brutal rape, cruel beatings, and abduction. Upon arrival at the Mumbai Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport, anti-terrorist police routinely went through every passenger manifest and found that one of the Iranian airline planes was carrying one Bismillah Ali Mujahid, a Taliban terrorist. The Bombay International Airport police did not identify him through his face or fake Iranian nationality and name. His Afghani passport carried the name Mustafa Shakir Hussain, but through his passport photo, which matched a computer photo list, and his name has been tagged. His name was flagged many years ago. The Indian police took him to a checkup room and fingerprinted him. Computers matched his prints to Bismillah Ali Mujahid, an escapee terrorist. He has been arrested immediately, handed over to the anti-terrorist police, and transferred to a maximum security jail in Mumbai City. The International Airport Police Authority did not know that the beautiful teenage Indian girl Ifit Khan had come with him. She is, after all, an Indian with a valid passport, and he is an Iranian man, and there is nothing to indicate that she is related to him in any way. The Indian inexperienced wife Ifit does not know that her captor has been arrested until she asks some of the Indian passengers who came with her on the same plane. She is told that her grandfather has been placed under arrest by the Bombay International Airport Police. The passengers are surprised when they see Ifit simply turn her back and walk away. She does not want to be arrested by that dangerous terrorist man who filled her heart with dread and panic for so many years. When the beautiful teenage girl Ifit Khan comes out of the arrival area of Mumbai International Airport, she does not know what to do or where to go. Although she is free from her captor, she is still controlled by fear of the Saudi old man. She is scared that if she does not go to him at the jail and do what he wants her to do for him, he may send some of his dangerous men to search for her and kill her. For 10 years, he had frightened her and made her feel as if he was a ferocious beast and she was helpless small prey in his claws. He had made her believe from the age of 7 that if she tried to run away from him, he would send some of his dangerous men to find her and slaughter her. So, heeding her instincts, she took a taxi and asked the driver to take her to Arthur Road Jail. The address of the men's jail in Mumbai has been mentioned in the Arabic letter he had sent to her. This is the name and address of the Indian dirty dungeon where the fire-breathing dragon is at present and has been kept imprisoned under lock and key. This is the second time that the old geezer has been arrested and jailed in India. The The first time was 10 years ago when he was held up in an alleged terrorist plot and was almost beaten to death by the dreadful Hindu police inspector Shankaracharya, who used to hate Muslims more than he hated Satan and all his demons. While the taxi is driving through the busy city, the Indian wife Ifat Khan is shocked to see the huge crowds of people. She wondered how those masses of people who are more in numbers than flies and mosquitoes could have enough food to eat. Her memory of Bombay has grown dim over the years, and she could only remember little glimpses of her hut in the slum of Dharavi. She was 7 years old when her mother took her from her small hut and flew her to Saudi Arabia. She remembered that she used to sleep on the ground with her 5 small brothers. Her memory also recollected the little food she used to eat. She compared her poor and miserable life when she was a child and the rich and comfortable life she is living with the old man. Reflecting, she wished that she could have continued that miserable life in India. Asmara and Tehran, with all the trappings of wealth, held no attraction for her because of the tyranny of the evil old man who kidnapped, raped, and imprisoned her for 10 horrifying years in 2 mansions of terror. It was 12:50 p.m. when the taxi dropped Ifat Khan off at the main gate of the Arthur Road jail. When she was asked to fill in a visiting form, she told the jail guard that she did not know how to read and write. One of the guards asked her to give him some money if she wanted him to help her fill in the form and if it gave him a $100 note. The Indian man felt as if she had given him a treasure. His monthly salary is 3,000 rupees. What the foreign girl Ifat has given him is the equivalent of 7,000 Indian rupees, and if he exchanged it on the black market, he might get 8,000 rupees. It is more than he received in 2 months. He asked her to come into his office and sit on a chair, and then he ordered a cold drink for the rich foreign girl. After she finished her drink, the guard asked her the questions in the form and filled it in for her. He conversed with her in Hindi, and from her he came to know that she was an 18-year-old Muslim girl who had just arrived today in Bombay from Tehran, Iran. Then the Hindu guard personally took the rich Muslim girl to a small room where she could meet the aged Arab detainee Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed. Chapter 21. The Arab pedophile is looking for a new child as a bride. Sheikh Firoz bin Ahmed had not returned to India for 10 years. After his bad experience with his former Indian driver and business client, the dangerous lunatic man, Muhammad Khan, the old Saudi man made an oath with Allah by placing his right hand on a copy of his holy Quran and swearing that he would never go again to the land of the Hindu idolaters and Muslim beggars. He kept this solemn oath for 10 years. Albeit, his lust for female children inevitably drew him back. Someone in Tehran told him that there is a Muslim city in India called Hyderabad where there are Muslim marriage agencies. He was told those marriage agencies could supply him with a pretty little child bride as young as 8 or 9 years old. The pedophile relished the memory of how he thied the 7-year-old child bride Ifat Khan at that age and how he took her virginity at 9. After sleeping with her for 10 years, she is becoming an adult girl and has lost much of her sex appeal as a small child bride. He wanted to start all over again with another fresh underage child bride. So, he broke his oath with Allah and flew back to Hindustan. As is his habit with subterfuge, he lied to his 4th wife and her Iranian maidservants and the terrorist Afghani security guard and instead told them that he was flying to Lahore city in Pakistan for an important business trip. But he flew from Tehran to Mumbai and ended up in Hyderabad city. Upon his arrival in the Islamic city, Hyderabad airport felt to the old Saudi man much like any poor African Muslim country, such as Eritrea, Sudan, or Somalia. Everybody is a Muslim and the city itself is named after the name of an ancient Muslim queen. The name, Hyderabad, reportedly had its origins in an affair between the Muslim king Muhammad Suli Qutb Shah and a local Telugu Hindu courtesan named Bagmati. He named the city Bhagyanagar after her, and after she converted to Islam and took on the name of Hyder Mahal, he named the city Hyderabad. It is just like the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is an ivory white marble mausoleum on the right bank of the river Yamuna in the Indian city of Agra. It was commissioned in 1632 by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan to house the tomb of his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal. There are mosques on every street of the city, more than the houses of Allah, the old Arab man had seen in his city of Jeddah. Even more than the mosques of Mecca and Medina combined. Every Muslim man has a dirty long beard, and every Muslima woman walking on the street is covered with a dusty black burqa. Their children are emaciated and appear to him like those thousands of little beggars he saw filling the streets and local train railway stations in Bombay. Everyone looks as if he has been buried in the ground and then exhumed. People are covered with dust and mud from head to toe. The pollution caused by cars, buses, and rickshaws could make a person suffocate to death. The streets are filthy and the old buildings are dilapidated. There are no garbage containers, and the garbage is freely and thoughtlessly strewn everywhere. If a visitor does not vomit upon his arrival in that filthy Muslim city, he would never vomit again in his life, even if he lived in a house full of decomposed dead carcasses of animals and human urines and feces. Children and animals urinate and defecate everywhere. It is the most filthy and bad-smelling city he ever visited in his life. The domestic animals and chickens roaming in the streets and narrow lanes in thousands, the flies in millions, and mosquitoes in billions. It is a miracle that human beings could live in such an unhealthy environment without falling seriously sick or dying on the roads like stray animals. Therefore, the rich old geezer has regretted that he has come to that dirty Muslim city to further his pedophilic plans. He could not believe that in such a city he could find a little damsel that he would marry and enjoy her young body for the rest of his life with her. He even doubted that anyone could find a healthy female among the decrepit women he is seeing walking on the streets, like skeletons that have been wrapped in black burial clothes. But since he is already here, the old man decided to see it through with the hope that he might find a young underage girl, whatever her health condition might be, and take her to Tehran, feed and nourish her to good health, and then start his predatory ways with her healthy body. With those devilish thoughts in mind, the evil old man spent a few hours resting in a nice hotel, then took a taxi and headed to one of the foremost marriage agencies in town, which he found in the phone book. The Dalal, or the pimp, who is running the marriage agency, is known as Farooq Khan. In Hindi and Urdu languages, the pimp is called Dalal. In Arabic, the pimp is called Gode or Muaraz. The pimp Farooq Khan has a beard 1 meter long that looks like an old dirty broom. He has the black mark of the Islamic prayer on his forehead, which resembles the mark of the beast, which is called 666. Most of the devout Muslims who regularly pray 5 times each day would have those marks due to the repeated touching of their prayer mats with their foreheads during prostration. It looks ugly, but Muslims love it and consider it proof of their devotion to Allah. In his left hand, the Dalal is clutching a long prayer rosary, and in his right hand, a green copy of his Holy Quran from which he is reciting verses when the old Saudi man walks into the main office of his prestigious marriage agency. Ironically, his copy of the Holy Quran is in Arabic, a language as foreign to him as Japanese. This is one of the miracles of non-Arabic speaking Muslims, but it is not the right place to try to figure it out. Arabic for them is all Greek, but still, they can recite the Quran in Arabic better than the Arabs. Muslims all over the world are required to read the Quran and pray 5 times a day in Arabic, although the majority of them can neither read nor write nor even speak that difficult language of the Arabs of the Middle East. The Muslim pimp, Farooq Khan, proudly told the old Saudi man that he had been to his holy country and visited the cities of Mecca and Medina and done the Hajj 3 times. The Arab old geezer has praised him for his religious piety and asked Allah to bless his wife, sons, and daughters too. After a little chatting, the old man revealed the purpose of his visit. He said plainly that he wanted to marry an exceedingly small girl no older than 8 years old. Farooq Khan told him that he could supply a girl of that age, but he warned him that he would not be able to take her to his country at that small age. He said further that while he could forge a birth certificate for that age and through a bribe get an Indian passport issued to her as a 17-year-old maidservant, still the Bombay International Airport police would probably see right through it. A young female child at that age would look small and childlike, befitting her age. For that reason, the pimp Farooq Khan advised the Saudi pedophile to go for a small girl who already has her first period but is still a virgin, but the old man said he would not accept a girl who had already started to menstruate. As an excuse, he said he would not trust such a girl, adding that anyone might have already stolen her virginity before him without his knowledge. Eager to retain his wealthy Saudi client, the Muslim pimp suggested that the old man should go for a 13-year-old girl who has not yet had her first period. The old man strongly rejected that suggestion and said that a 13-year-old girl would be too old for him. In no uncertain terms, he is not going to marry a child bride above 9 years of age. He reminded the Muslim pimp that is the ideal age his gracious Prophet Muhammad had consummated his marriage with his beloved child bride, Aisha, and enjoyed her virginity before any other man touched her before him. After 2 hours of intense discussion and bantering, the two wicked men settled for an 11-year-old girl. When that critical issue of age is finally decided, it took another hour of haggling to decide a wife's price or dowry they could both agree upon. All the nitty-gritty concluded, Farooq Khan took the old man to a room where he could pick up his preferred underage child bride. Chapter 22. Choosing an underage child bride. The so-called renowned and prestigious marriage agency has many rooms, each room designed for a specific age group of lovely child brides. In one particular room, the old Saudi man found 15 Indian Muslim girls aged 11. Those 15 little underage girls look like Barbie dolls dressed in burqas, but for the sake of the business, they have their faces uncovered. By the way, in some Muslim countries, Barbie dolls must by law have hijabs or niqabs. The pro-Sharia American Muslims are trying to push for the implementation of the same in the United States of America. The Saudi wealthy business tycoon demanded that all the 11-year-old girls should be stripped of their burqa so that he could make good his choice, and the pious pimp ordered all the little girls to come out of their Islamic ugly cocoons for the Saudi man so he can make his proper selection. The small girls removed their black burqas and stood like dolls in their Indian salwar kameez. The old man demanded further that he wanted each underage girl to remove her salwar kameez and remain in her bra and underwear only. Farooq Khan rejected that demand because it is haram in Islam for the man to see the awara or nakedness of a girl who is not his wife yet. Howbeit, when the rich old man insisted on his demand and threatened to cancel the deal and withdraw his money, the pimp agreed to the haram situation for the sake of the big cash he has received. Some of the little girls said they would not strip in front of each other. They said they could do so one at a time and behind the modesty afforded by a curtain. The Muslim Indian pimp and the old Saudi man agreed to accommodate that moral demand. Then, the dirty pedophile has been asked by the pious pimp to sit inside a small room much like a fitting room in a clothing store. After that, the 15 small girls are ordered by Mr. Farooq Khan to enter that fitting room one after another, strip off their salwar kameez, and stand half naked in front of the old man. Then she can put their clothes back and come out. Each girl has been given a number, starting from girl number 1 to girl number 15. The old man has been told by Farooq Khan to write down the number of the girl that won his heart. The old man touched the body of each girl as if he were buying a lamb from the sheep market. His hands wandered between their breasts and buttocks and did not spare the faces and lips too. He managed to kiss and hug some of them, but some resisted and refused to allow him to do haram and fahisha with them before marriage. If any underage girl would have not resisted, the dirty old man would have raped her right there before marrying her. One female child bit in his hand when he tried to insert it in her tiny pussy. Another female child girl pushed him until he fell because he tried to sodomize her small ass through his exposed phallus. The wicked old man claimed to have made the wrong choices 3 times. So, each girl has been forced by the pimp to enter behind the curtain and strip off her clothes in front of the pedophile 3 times. Finally, girl number 13 is chosen to be the new underage child bride of the wealthy Saudi man Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. Her name is Amina Hyder Ali. As soon as he chose her, the old man took hold of her hand and began to walk her with him out of the fitting room, heading toward the door as if he bought a Jariya girl from the slave market at the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Farooq Khan stopped him and said to him he would not allow him to take her to his hotel unless the Islamic halal nikah contract is performed. He said further that he could not allow him to commit haram acts with the Muslim girl without marrying her. The old man said he had already paid her price, and by the agreement of the financial deal, she had become his right-hand possession or female sex slave. But the pious Indian dalal or pimp Mr. Farooq Khan said to the old geezer that he is running a marriage agency and not a slave trade for selling Indian girls to Arab men. Unwillingly, the old man agreed to perform the Islamic halal nikah contract. After that, the so-called righteous Muslim pimp sent one of his boys to the lucky chosen girl's parents to carry the good news to them and bring the father of the girl to sign the marriage contract of his daughter with her wealthy Saudi bridegroom. In less than half an hour, a man came with the messenger of the good news. The newly arrived man looks like he has not eaten food for many days and died, and was buried in the ground, and his corpse has been exhumed from his grave as a zombie. Shortly after him, the Mazoon or mullah of a nearby mosque is phoned and called in. The Mazoon, who has a beard longer than that of the pimp, came with 2 adult male witnesses. Shortly after that, with the blessings of the father, the halal nikah contract between Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed and Amina Hyder Ali was conducted according to the Sunnah of Allah and His beloved Prophet Muhammad. Then, and only then, has the old man been allowed to take his bride to his hotel. When the so-called halal marriage contract was conducted, the Indian child bride was 11 and her Arab bridegroom was 80 years old. Before the newly wedded couple left the premises of that renowned Muslim marriage agency, the proprietor Farooq Khan took the aged bridegroom aside and gave him a piece of good advice. He told him not to consummate his nikah with the girl until they had safely reached his country. The word nikah in Sharia has various meanings. The most widely used means legal fornication with any number of female slaves, lawful adultery with 2, 3, or 4 women at the same time, legalized rape with underage female children, and of course conventional marriage with 1 woman. But the old man thought that Farooq Khan wanted to trick him, therefore, he rejected the advice and determined in his heart to consummate his marriage with his child bride on the very same day he married her and stole her virginity. He did that before a young Muslim man could kidnap her and elope with her or a wicked Hindu policeman separated her from him. He knew and understood that his new little underage child bride Amina Hyder Ali has already crossed the lawful prescribed age of 9 years for nikah according to the Islamic Sharia. When they reached the hotel, the old geezer raped the little underage girl until she began to cry loudly. Since everyone in the hotel is a Muslim and the hotel management has seen the marriage contract between the Muslim Arab man and the Muslim Indian girl, no one intervened or tried to save the girl from her rapist. From that day, the old man raped the 11-year-old girl and continued to rape her day and night until the marriage agency arranged her Indian passport. The old man already has a maidservant visa with him, so, 1 week from the day he came to the Muslim city, he took his new child bride to Hyderabad airport and headed to Tehran via Mumbai. Before she got married to the 80-year-old Saudi man, Amina was a virgin and had not yet had her menses. She was simply not ready in the slightest for sex. When the old man raped her on the day she was sold in marriage to him, she felt as if he was digging a hole inside her tiny vagina. She bled profusely and experienced unbearable pain. The old geezer used his money and bribed someone from the hotel, brought a corrupt Muslim female nurse, and treated the copiously bleeding private parts of his new child bride. He was scared if he took her to the hospital the Hindu doctors and nurses might get him in trouble with the secular Indian law. On the following day, she experienced more pain than the first day. The old man caused many serious abrasions and deep cuts in her private parts. The dirty old geezer had even tried anal sex with his new child bride, but he could not be able to penetrate her tiny anus. His large phallus is too big to go through such a tiny hole. But he continued to rape her in her tiny vagina. Wherefore, the second rape gave her more pain than the first one. Every day, the pain increased and her torture did not diminish. As is his evil plans all along, the old man continued to rape her day and night until her travel papers have been completed. The underage girl Amina wished for death before the old man could take her to his Arab country and continue causing her anguish and torture. When her parents came to say goodbye to her at the Hyderabad airport, she begged them to take her away from the old man. Her father shouted at her and told her that he would cut her throat if she said that again. Also, he told her not to tell anyone that the old man was her husband or try to run away from him. If anyone asked her, she should say he is her Saudi employer and she is simply his Indian maidservant. Out of fear of her strict Muslim father, the little girl agreed to go with the old man to the airplane. Chapter 23. The arrest of an Arab pedophile inside Mumbai International Airport. If it is not for a steady supply of Viagra, the 80-year-old Saudi man would not have been able to rape his new underage female child bride, Amina Haider Ali. He is very advanced in age and lost all his sexual ability which he used in the past to rape his former child bride, Ifat Khan. Moreover, this time he did not practice the thighing of female children with his new bride because she is already 11 years old and past the minimum age for sexual intercourse required by the Islamic Sharia. Therefore, he began to rape her from day one. At any rate, inside the plane, Amina felt as if she was sitting beside a ravenous wolf. His old face and long beard reminded her of the story of Beauty and the Beast that her school female teacher narrated to her. She was sweating and trembling in fear from the Hyderabad airport until their plane landed at the Santa Cruz domestic airport in Mumbai. Then, the newly-wedded couple with other passengers who are in transit are transferred by a big bus from the domestic airport to the international airport. When they reached the departure hall, the abused underage child wife Amina Haider Ali understood that she was far enough from her dangerous Muslim father. Consequently, she began to cry and resist when the aged Arab man tried to pull her with him and walk her to the plane. Her screaming and resistance drew the curiosity of the other passengers and some airport officials. One wealthy Indian woman interfered and asked Amina in Hindi because she was crying. The old man shouted at the Indian woman who began to talk to his child bride. He talked to her in Arabic and ordered her not to talk to his Khadimaya. The Indian woman did not understand his Arabic words and continued to speak to Amina in Hindi. But one Indian man understood the meaning of the word Khadimaya and told the Indian woman that the little girl was traveling abroad as a maidservant to the Arab old man. Immediately, Amina spoke to the woman and told her why she was crying and refusing to go with the Saudi man. She exposed the old man and said openly that she is not his Khadimaya, but his Muslim wife. The people who heard her words were shocked when they learned that the 80-year-old Arab man was the husband of the underage Indian girl. The Indian woman called the Mumbai International Airport police immediately and the matter became an official complaint. When the police arrived at the scene, the old Saudi man is placed under arrest. He is handcuffed, slapped, and kicked by a police officer in front of everyone. Some Indian women spat on the face of the old man, and some men called him Teri Maki Chut, Teri Bahanki Chut, Kutia, Sala, go and marry and fuck your mother or sister, you fucking dirty old Arab geezer. Some of the extremely outraged passengers said to him go and fuck a goat or a camel in your Sahara Desert backward society. Some people pushed him and some pinched him, while some incredibly angry passengers even tried to kill him. So, the crowd would have killed the old man if it were not for the 6 tough police officers that surrounded him. After that, the notorious womanizer and child abuser was dragged out of Mumbai International Airport and has been thrown into a police truck and hauled away like trash taken in a dump truck. The little girl Amina has been taken in a different police car and sent to the hospital for a rape test. The test proved that Amina had been brutally raped by the old Saudi man, and the hospital sent the results to the police. When she is questioned at the hospital, Amina reveals her real age to the police. As a consequence of this disturbing news, the city of Mumbai is turned upside down when the midday newspapers publish the breaking news. The headline reads, an 80-year-old Saudi man weds an 11-year-old Hyderabadi Muslim girl. Citizens of Mumbai demonstrated in thousands, went to the police headquarters, and demanded that the old Saudi man be severely punished. The main leaders of the Hindu Shiv Sena political party stood behind the wave of popular support and mirrored the call for capital punishment to the wicked old Arab man. There are, however, a few Muslim-organized marches and protests that called for the immediate release of the Muslim old man and his Muslim wife. Their religious leaders said that the marriage of the Saudi Muslim man and the Indian Muslim girl was valid according to the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of their prophet. They quoted the example of the 9-year-old child bride, Aisha, and the 54-year-old Prophet Muhammad. The Mumbai police contacted the police of Hyderabad, who then ordered the immediate arrest of Amina's father and the owner of the marriage agency Farooq Khan, the imam of the mosque who acted as a mazun and conducted the unlawful marriage, and the 2 male witnesses who signed the marriage contract. According to Indian marriage law, a girl is not allowed to get married until she reaches 18 and the boy is 21. The only exception to the rule allows a 17-year-old girl to wed with her parental consent. In India, legally at least, an Indian girl has the right to marry regardless of parental wishes when she is 18 years old. The law applies to all Indian girls regardless of religion and caste. Sex with a girl below 17 is deemed to be statutory rape or rape of a minor. As provided for by the laws of the land, the old Saudi man has been arrested for rape, kidnap, and the attempt to smuggle as his female sex slave a minor Indian girl out of the country. Under the persuasive and harsh methods of interrogation of the Indian police, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed admitted that he contracted the little girl in marriage and slept with her for 7 days and 7 nights. However, he tried to justify his marriage because the marriage agency deceived him about the real age of the girl. He falsely claimed he had been told by the owner of the agency and the girl's father that Amina Haider Ali was 17 years old when the marriage contract was conducted. The Mumbai police did not buy that line of justification, and they flogged the lying old geezer mercilessly until he spoke the truth. After his harsh interrogation, the old Saudi man has been placed on remand awaiting a dangerous trial. If he is convicted, he might be sent to the gallows and hanged to death. In the meantime, his victim Amina Haider Ali has been placed under the care of the Maharashtra state government, which decided to place her in a foster home, awaiting adoptive parents who have been vetted by the government. Given the publicity generated by her sensitive case, the government has to deal, in 1 month alone, with 500,000 applications from wealthy Indian people all over the country who want to adopt Amina Haider Ali as their adored daughter. Chapter 24. Meeting the imprisoned old pedophile serpent. Ifat Khan is sitting on a bench inside the Arthur Road men's jail waiting for the guards to bring her Saudi husband who has been arrested and jailed for more than 4 months. At this time, she is 18 years old and her Arab husband is 80 years old. She has spent 10 years in his captivity and sexual rape and abuse, 3 years in Eritrea and 7 years in Iran. For 10 long years, he has abused and subdued her. He has turned her into a sex slave and a female robot. Even though he is in jail, he continues to frighten and control her. He is controlling her as if he has a wireless remote control in his hand that he can use to move her from place to place. She is like his wingless, colorful, beautiful bird, which can only fly when given wings by him. While she is sitting waiting on the bench, the teenage Indian girl Ifat Khan begins to shake and sweat when she sees the poisonous serpent coming toward her guarded by 2 male guards. He is chained from head to foot and dressed up in a prisoner's uniform. When he sat on the opposite side and faced her, she began to shake more, and her heart began to beat faster and louder as if it were an African drum or an Indian tabla. When he greeted her in the Persian language, she could not talk. Her voice failed her, even though her mouth was open. He raised his voice and shouted at her, and she forced herself to reply to his greeting. The first question the old man asked if it was about his faithful Afghani security guard, and she told him that he had been arrested by the Indian police at the Mumbai International Airport for reasons unknown to her. This information has filled the old man's heart with fear. The first thought that arose in his mind is that if it might run away without anyone to guard her. Concealing his fear, he began to instruct her on what to do. First, he warned her that if she tried to run away from him, he had more than 100 Indian dangerous gangsters who could easily find her and cut her into small bits and pieces. Secondly, he told her not to tell anyone that she is his fourth wife, but she must say she is his maidservant in Iran. Thirdly, he told her not to open her burqa or allow anyone to see her face. She had to be hidden inside her black niqab, even when she was in her hotel room. After giving her those strict instructions, he began to tell her what to do for him. The first assignment the old man gave to his fourth wife was to take a taxi, go to the Churchgate area in downtown Bombay, and deliver a letter that he had written to the manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank. The letter is written in Arabic. Like his obedient maidservant, the Indian wife Ifat Khan took a taxi and headed to the address written on the letter. When she reached the bank, she first showed the letter to an Indian female employee who then passed it on to an Arab male employee. The Arab man read the letter and understood that it was addressed to the bank manager, so he directed Ifat to the office of his manager. In the letter, the old man has requested the manager of the bank to send one of the bank employees with the necessary forms so that he could make a joint account with his Indian wife, Ifat Khan, who has brought the letter to him. He requested the bank not to allow his Indian wife to withdraw more than 1,000 rupees in a day. The manager filled out the forms and asked Ifat Khan to affix her signature, but when the Indian wife admitted to being illiterate, he suggested she simply use her thumbprint. After that, the manager asked one of his Arab employees to accompany the wife of their important Saudi client to the jail to get his signature. On that day, the obedient Indian wife Ifat Khan has to pay a couple of $100 more to the jail guard, whom she has bribed before to allow her to revisit the old man for the second and the third times. The Indian guard has never become so happy and felt enriched as that day. In a few hours, he made 21,000 rupees when his monthly salary was only 3,000 rupees. According to the jail rules, the same person is not allowed to visit his or her relative prisoner more than once a day. However, that day Ifat revisited her Saudi husband thrice, and each time she paid a $100 note as a bribe. After the old man signed the joint account forms, Ifat went back to the Abu Dhabi International Bank and got her own bank card and account book. As instructed in the Arabic letter, the bank allowed her to withdraw only 1,000 rupees. She is told by the manager she can use her bank card to eat in a restaurant or to rent a room in a hotel. The manager also followed the instructions of the letter and took $1,000 from Ifat Khan and exchanged it for 70,000 Indian rupees. Ifat has brought with her a couple of $1,000s from Iran. After that, the fourth wife returned to visit her Saudi husband for the third time. The second assignment is appointing a lawyer. Her husband told her to go to Mumbai High Court, find the best lawyer, and bring him to meet him in jail. Specifically, the old man said that the lawyer should be a Muslim. Since it is evening time and the High Court might already be closed by now, he told her to go to Colaba, find a hotel, and book in, but she is told not to stay in a hotel that would charge more than 500 rupees per day. Ifat, like a very obedient wife, stopped a taxi and asked the driver to take her to any hotel at Colaba that charges 500 rupees. The driver responded by saying he knew of no decent hotel that had rates so low, but Ifat had no intention of seeing the old monster for the fourth time that day, so she told the driver just to take her to any nearby hotel that charges only 500 rupees per day. The driver took her to a cheap motel at Bombay Central which charged 499 rupees per night. The last time the Indian wife had eaten was aboard the Iranian passenger jet. She was starving as she entered her room, but she was so exhausted she would have slept without food if the hotel front desk hadn't phoned her room to ask whether she wanted to order food from the hotel restaurant before it closed in an hour. So, she ordered a rushed meal before going to sleep. She fell asleep wearing the same burqa she had been wearing since she left Tehran. She came with a small travel handbag that held a couple of dresses and a few inner clothes. She has 2 black burqas, 2 dresses, and 1 pair of spare shoes, that is all. She had never traveled by herself, and she was completely ignorant of the outside world. She is acting as if she is a Tarzan female not in lion's clothing, but an African jungle girl in a black burqa who came from the forest, and this is her first real human contact. The old man had succeeded in changing her from a human being into a domestic animal with 2 legs, or a robot without a brain and human will. As soon as she woke up from her sleep, Ifit left the hotel and took a taxi to the Mumbai High Court. Finding a lawyer in Mumbai is as easy as seeing a policeman on the street. Lawyers do not stay in their offices. They gather every day in the courtyard of the court and chase after people. As soon as you enter the courtyard, tens of advocates will come running to you and offer to defend you in court or fight your case anywhere in Mumbai. They would charge you according to your case or your means. As soon as the lawyers saw the Muslim woman in a black burqa, she held attention to 15 of them. She heard them babble in Hindi and Urdu. All talking at the same time, some ventured that Ifit has come to ask for a divorce from her abusive Muslim husband. Some guessed that she wants to marry her Hindu boyfriend without the consent of her Muslim parents. She brushed away both suggestions and asked for a Muslim lawyer to step forward. The crowd around her is now a group of 5, out of which she chose the oldest one because the old man had told her to go for an old and experienced Muslim lawyer. Immediately, the lucky chosen lawyer asked her to sit with him in a corner and tell him her problem so that he could write it down in his notebook, which he is carrying like his school notebooks. Ifit told him she did not have a problem, but that she had someone in Arthur Road jail who had a profoundly serious case. She said that she could not tell him what the problem was herself, but that the one inside the jail would relate his legal issue. At first, the Muslim lawyer thought that Ifit was just a playgirl who wanted to fool him and waste his valuable time, and to make sure she was not that kind of a girl, he asked her for advance money. She agreed to give him a couple of 100 rupees. He also said she would be liable for his traveling expenses by taxi, and the burqa girl assured him that she would pay for his taxi trips. Seeing no opposition from the burqa girl, he requested that lunch be on her if the case demanded more time than necessary. Agreeing to all his demands, he waved to the cab driver and slid into the front seat. He motioned to the Muslim girl to sit in the rear seat because it would be haram for him as a pious Muslim man to sit near a young Muslim woman that is neither his wife nor his daughter. With the taxi racing down the beach street of Marine Drive, the Muslim lawyer took the opportunity to ask the girl who had chosen him all the questions that remained unanswered in his mind. He wanted to know whether the person in the jail her husband, boyfriend, father, brother, uncle, or male cousin is. The burqa-clad girl answered no to all of his questions, and that made him even more curious. He puzzled over the relationship between the Muslim girl and the Arthur Road jail's detainee. He also wanted to know where she was living and what level of education she reached, whether she is married or has a fiancé or a boyfriend, what her age is, and what are her plans. His questions are endless, and Ifit breathed a sigh of relief when the taxi reached the jail. By the way, Indians are very curious people and always ask you unnecessary and silly personal questions which you know is none of them of their concern. For example, if your Indian boyfriend or your Hindu girlfriend phones you in the evening, the first question she will ask you is, "Have you eaten your dinner?" And if you say, "Yes, I have," she will ask you, "What kind of food have you eaten and what time exactly you had finished your last meal of the day?" Another funny question that each Indian loves to ask a foreigner he just meets anywhere. Are you from? He wants you to fill in the blank as if you are in an exam. The second question, what is your good name? Chapter 25. The Secret Unlawful Deal. The curious Muslim lawyer has mentally prepared himself to meet anyone in the world inside the jail, even Osama bin Laden or Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, except the one he has seen sitting inside the small visiting room. If he had seen the devil himself with his 2 horns sitting in the small room, he would not have been more shocked and frightened than when he saw the fire-breathing dragon, the Saudi old man Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, sitting without movements as if he is the statue of Buddha. The old geezer is sitting like Iblis, the great Satan, and staring at him. He had seen his photos over 1,000 times in the media these past few months, and he is more familiar with the case than the old man himself. He had discussed it with his family at home, with other Muslim men in the mosque, and with other lawyers at court. He had read the details in newspapers and watched it on all the TV channels. The Muslim lawyer at once knew and understood that he had just been dealt with a high-profile case. After overcoming the shock, the first question he asked himself was how many millions of rupees he should demand as his fees for trying to defend such an undefendable case. Ifat Khan is now the translator between her Saudi husband and the Muslim lawyer. The old man spoke in Persian and his new lawyer in Urdu. Ifat translated everything as best she could except for the usual Islamic greeting, for which there is no need because each Muslim knows it more than he knows his name. First of all, Mr. Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, you must know that your case is exceedingly difficult to defend. There is an extraordinarily strong case against you. The police have amassed more than enough proof to convict. Upon conviction, you are probably looking at the hangman's noose or life imprisonment without a chance of an appeal or parole. I haven't called you here for you to tell me that. I want to know whether you will be able to release me from this accursed Hindu prison or not. You are a Muslim and you must know that I have done nothing wrong. What I have done is in accordance with the Holy Quran and the blessed Sunnah of our gracious Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and prayers of Allah be upon him. I had married an 11-year-old Muslim girl, which is lawful in our blessed Sharia. For your kind information, in Surah Al-Talaq 65 verse 4, the Holy Quran allows every Muslim man to marry a girl before she reaches puberty. Even our gracious Prophet Muhammad had married our blessed mother, Aisha bint Abu Bakr, when she was 6 years old and had sex with her when she was 9 years old. So, what kind of haram have I done when I married and had sex with an 11-year-old girl? Did she die when I fucked her up? Had I kidnapped her from her parents and raped her? Did I not make the correct nikah contract with her? Did I not pay her father her dowry? Whatever you have done is lawful in our Islamic Sharia and backed up with a verse from our Holy Quran and authentic hadiths and deeds from the blessed Sunnah of our gracious Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and prayers of Allah be upon him. But remember, this is not Saudi Arabia or Iran. This is a Hindu and secular country. It is the land of Al-Kufar, the unclean infidels. According to the law of this country, what you have done with that Hyderabadi Muslim girl, Amina Hyder Ali, has made you a kidnapper, a rapist, and a slave trader of a minor girl. No lawyer can defend you if the case goes to court without making holes in it. We need to make holes and weaken the case before the Mumbai criminal court judge makes his final decision on it. In this country, the jurymen are like little puppets in a public show in the hands of the judge. He can move them and make them do whatever he likes. Whatever the main judge decides, they will consent. How can you make holes and weaken the case? Money can weaken the case. You need to pay a lot of money for many people. We need to bribe the judge, the police, and other people. I will not ask you to pay me as much as the Hindu police and the judge may ask for. We need to pay the Mumbai police and Hyderabad police. We need to fill the mouth of the main judge with so much money. We might even need to pay money to the father, mother, sisters, and brothers of the girl in question. And if it is possible, we might get hold of Amina herself and buy her by our side. We can make her say that her father told her to lie to you and tell you that her age is 17 years. How much money do I need to pay? Crores of rupees. I cannot give you the exact figures now. I must first talk to the main judge and the police and contact other officials who are handling your case. If I agree to pay that much money, what is my guarantee that I will win the case and be released from this filthy Hindu prison? I will get the judge to sign a secret contract the same as anyone else who is involved. I will pay 10% of what they ask for and the rest after I am released. All judges and policemen in Mumbai ask for 50% before the trial and 50% after it is over and successful and everything comes in your favor. Can you tell me approximately how much this is going to cost? Roughly 10 crores. How many rupees are 10 crores? They are 100 million Indian rupees. 100 million rupees is a lot of money. That is what I have said from the beginning. You need to pay a lot of money to come out of this accursed infidel's jail. Otherwise, you will lose your life or die inside this filthy Hindu dungeon. Consider your advanced age. Would you like to die in the Muslim holy lands among your Muslim wives and children, or starve and die like a criminal in this unholy land of the Hindu idolaters? Okay, I am ready to pay the money, but try to reduce it to 7 or 8 crores. I will try my level best, but I can give you no guarantees. Hindus are very greedy people when it comes to money. Go and talk to the main judge and other police top officials and bring to me the exact figures. Inshallah, after 2 weeks I will come to you with some good news. Barka Allah Fikya Aki Fi al-Islam, said the old man. If it could not translate this Islamic phrase because it is spoken in Arabic. It means God bless you my brother in faith. Before I accept the case officially, I need, as a token, the sum of advance which is equivalent to 100,000 rupees. Why should I give you money before you talk to those Hindu people? I need money to talk to them. I need to bribe their security guards and those close to them so that I can have access to them. The old man talked to his Indian wife in the Persian language before responding to the demand of the greedy Muslim lawyer. He ordered her to go to the Abu Dhabi International Bank and pay 100,000 rupees to his Muslim lawyer. He said further that if the manager refused to issue the amount, then told him to send someone from the bank to come and see him in prison. Go with my maidservant Ifat Khan to the bank and get the money. The Muslim lawyer remembered that he could not discern the relationship between the young Indian Muslim girl and the prisoner, but now, the cat is out of the bag. He is awed and respectful of the devotion and loyalty this Indian maidservant has for her Arab master. That day the Indian wife Ifat is compelled to visit her Saudi-imprisoned husband 4 times in jail. Firstly, the bank refused to issue the 100,000 rupees without the signature of the old man. Secondly, the signature was rejected twice because the old man's hand was trembling, and that altered his signature because the beatings that he had received during the harsh interrogation caused him to tremble for no reason. Finally, the bank sent one of its employees and confirmed that the old man wanted the Muslim lawyer to get such a big amount of cash. After receiving the money, the lawyer took Ifat back to the prison and made the old man sign the required forms, giving him the right to be his legal representative and to start the legal procedure. The old man not only gave the Muslim man the right to represent him in court, but appointed him as the legal security guard and guardian to his young maidservant. He told his Indian wife not to go anywhere without the company of that good Muslim man. If he did not know that his teenage wife is young and exceptionally beautiful, he would have asked the Muslim man to stay with her inside her room in the hotel and sleep with her on the same bed and vigilantly watch her movements to ensure she would not fall in love with someone or run away from him with a handsome Indian Muslim boy or a Hindu police inspector might separate her from him. Even if she goes to the bathroom, he should go in with her to make sure she would not be able to break the back window and flee away from her Arab master. But as we know, the Muslim man is not supposed to trust his father or brother with his wife. This is because the Prophet Muhammad said that in-laws are like death to the wife. Then, the Muslim lawyer gave his business card to the so-called loyal and obedient maidservant Ifat Khan and accompanied her to her hotel, and then he left as soon as she got out of the cab. The new guard is not as watchful as the former Afghani terrorist. As soon as he dropped Ifat, he took the remainder of the day off and went to celebrate his windfall of 100,000 rupees with his family. He has neither seen nor received such a big amount of money before. Ifat is supposed to visit her detained Saudi husband every day in jail and do whatever he wants her to do for him. That day she came back to her hotel at 4:15 p.m. She does not know what to do. She has nothing to do after her newly appointed jail guard escorted her to the hotel. She has a small TV in her room, not being connected to cable. It is receiving only local news, and it has a few boring channels. She wished she had a DVD player and an Indian movie to watch. She considered venturing out of the hotel, but decided that it would be prudent to stay inside in case the Muslim lawyer saw her and reported her to the old man, resulting in a beating or worse. After a while, boredom takes hold, and again she is tempted to go out. An idea came to her and she went down to the front desk and told them that she was looking for someone to help her get a DVD player and a new Indian movie. The girl at the front desk suggested that instead of spending so much money on buying a DVD player for just one movie, she should go to the movie theater and watch it there. Ifat has never been to a movie theater in her life. She only knew of them from the movies she had watched in her Tehran prison house. She wants to go to the movie theater, but she is gripped by the fear of being spotted and caught by the same Muslim lawyer and punished by her dangerous Saudi husband. The front desk girl wrote down the name of the nearby movie theater and gave it to her. The scared wife Ifit glances at the paper but does not know what is written on it. The pretty Indian girl told her that it is the name of the movie theater that is playing the most popular new Indian movie. Ifit simply went back to her room, opened the window, and began to look at the people who were walking on the street below the hotel. She scanned the street for the Muslim lawyer. She spent 1 hour standing by the window looking for the lawyer. She felt as if she is searching for a coin among the hundreds of people walking on the street below her. Eventually, when she could not see the bearded face of the Muslim lawyer, she came up with a plan and decided to put it into action.